The Philadelphia Eagles defeat the Kansas City Chiefs on the road to advance to 2-0, but surely there are some things to clean up. We'll talk about a shaky game from Eagles OC Kevin Patullo, but on the other hand, how about the defense coming around to step up, make some big-time plays in the heat, and one Eagles rookie put the world on notice today, and I think he just made a huge statement. We're going to talk about all that and more coming up right here on A to Z Philly, but welcome on in. Eagles win. Let's go, man. Post-game reaction. I'm fired up. It is always a good feeling to get a win, and we're going to talk about a lot in this game, the good and the bad. But overall, when you take a step back and you think about the fact that you just beat Patrick Mahomes, who has never lost 3 straight games in his NFL career, you contributed to 2 of them, right? The Super Bowl and here in week 2. You think about the fact that the Chiefs have never started 0-2 under Patrick Mahomes. You think about how much sustained success that franchise has had, and it honestly feels like the Eagles have broken the Kansas City Chiefs, right? You took them off the three-peat. They didn't look that good in week 1. They made a late charge against the Chargers, no pun intended. Then they come back today. They look sloppy. I know they're down a lot of weapons, but the Eagles are the better team. The Eagles have the foundation, and they're figuring out ways to win games even when they don't play their best. And I think that's my number one takeaway as we head into this reaction. But the Eagles get it done 20-17, and we have a lot to talk about across the board. But I want to start on the defensive end. Shout out to Za'Darius Smith. He comes in, and I do not know how many snaps he played without going back to look at all the numbers. I'm just giving my instant thoughts. This is an absolute steal by Howie Roseman. This guy was in from the first drive of the game. He took a lot of pressure off of the edge rushers in this game, and he said this week that the Birds brought him in to play that BG role. Well, guess what? He played his butt off today. He contributed to half a sack early in this game. I don't know if they gave him the credit for it, but he and Mukuba got Mahomes down early. First sack of the season for the Birds after not getting to Dak last week. He had a couple big-time tackles for loss in this game. Za'Darius Smith played his butt off, and the fact that he waited a week into the season and the Eagles cashed in at the right moment to upgrade the team and get the veteran presence they needed is amazing work by Howie Roseman. So I want to give a shout out to Za'Darius Smith because I thought he played excellent today. Now, in my opinion, the player of the game who played even better than Za'Darius Smith, who deserves all the credit for helping the Eagles win this football game, is Andrew Mukuba. And we're going to get to the offense here in a few minutes, but the defense is out there in 90-plus degree weather. They are gasping for air. You see Jalen Carter holding his arm. He looked to be injured. You see Jordan Davis maybe cramping up or had a little bit of a hamstring pull. He's injured. The defense was on the field so many plays, and when they needed to make a stop after letting the Chiefs run down the field, how many plays was that drive? It actually ended up being 14 plays, 74 yards, 8+ minute drive. And like I said, the Eagles defense is on their heels. They are very tired. And on a 2nd and goal at the Philly 6, Pat Mahomes throws it over the middle. Travis Kelce, after gloating because he had one big play against Cooper DeJean, doing some crazy celebration, ends up bobbling the ball up in the air. Eagles rookie Andrew Mukuba picks it, and not only does he pick it and do a touchback or something like that, he takes it 41 yards, and if it wasn't for the Chiefs rookie lineman Josh Simmons running all the way down the field to stop him, he would have had a 100-yard pick 6. Like, this was an excellent read, an excellent play, way to adapt during the play by Andrew Mukuba. And you look at the game that he had today. Andrew Mukuba finishes with 6 tackles, half of a sack, tackle for loss, and he had a big-time interception that completely changed this game around. You go from being backed up on your own red zone, going all the way down the other side of the field, and then the Eagles end up running it down their throat. The tush push is the most automatic play in NFL history, and Jalen does it again, gets into the end zone, and he makes this a 10-point game. I mean, you want to talk about momentum swing. It felt like the Eagles were literally going to lose this game because their defense was doing everything they could, hanging on by a thread, and the offense couldn't get anything going. Like I said, the tush push might have been the most automatic play today for the offense. Like, that's how good it was. I mean, that's what they do on every 3rd and short, 4th and short. And as ESP says here, they did get away with a few offsides, and, you know, a lot of people were complaining. You heard a lot of the boos raining in. By the way, I did hear a lot of Eagles fans in the stands, so shout out to Eagle Nation for traveling well and showing up and showing out in Kansas City. But the Eagles cannot continuously rely on this tush push. And as great as Mukuba played, I thought Jahad Campbell and Zach Bowen played well. I thought the whole defensive line played well. Shoot, I even thought Adoree Jackson, for the most part, until we got to the fourth quarter, played well. Quinyon got beat deep for a touchdown late. But the defense, again, you got to think about how many plays they were on the field for. I mean, it was almost impossible. I would not have been mad if they gave up a touchdown late and lost this game at the defense, because they were on the field for 57 plays. I mean, it was a lot of football, man. They were definitely gassed, and you know Mahomes is already hard enough to defend as it is. But I'm looking at the other side of the football, and it comes down to Kevin Patullo. I tweeted this out during the game. Eagles might need another Week 5 bye at this point based on how the offense is looking. And, man, I was very disappointed today in Kevin Patullo. I'm not looking at Jalen Hurts. I'm not looking at Saquon Barkley. I am not looking at DeVonta Smith. It doesn't matter. I'm looking at Kevin Patullo. You had people tweeting this out halfway through this game. A resemblance of Brian Johnson to Kevin Patullo. And no, we can't blame everything on Brian Johnson, but do you remember how stale the play calling was? The fact that they would continuously go back and rely on bubble screens when you have all of the best offensive weapons in the world. I'm not saying this was the worst play calling game ever, but it was up there on one of the worst that I've seen on that end of the spectrum, because the Philadelphia Eagles did not look downfield until they had to. There was a couple plays where Steve Spagnuolo went on an all-out blitz. He must have blitzed Jalen 60 to 70% of the snaps this game. He was throwing a lot at Jalen, and I thought Jalen was making really good decisions, roaming out of the pocket, trying to get rid of the football. There was a couple times where he threw it downfield. One was a PI, got called back, and the other one that he did was in the beginning of the fourth quarter, and it finally worked because, again, when you're bringing all these guys rushing right at Jalen Hurts, you have an open field, way, way, way down the field, open space, and he lobs it up to DeVonta Smith down to the 3-yard line, and DeVonta makes it look like child's play against Trent McDuffie. And all game, I'm yelling to myself, why will the Eagles not do anything over the middle of the field, and why will they not throw anything downfield? Now, last week, and even in the past last year, when people would get mad that they're not getting A.J. Brown the ball, they're not getting DeVonta the ball, I'm not mad at that because the Eagles were winning games. Saquon had 150, 200 on the ground, and they're playing efficient, effective football. But when I look at a game like this, and you know the Chiefs are obviously down players. They lost a couple defenders in the first quarter of this game. And you know on the offensive side, they are down to their 4th string wide receiver. That's who really they're depending on to win this game outside of Travis Kelce. They had no running game. Mahomes was making superhero plays with his legs in the first half. I'll give it to him. But they are literally backs against the wall, about to go to 0-2, and they play with a lot of energy. You saw the Chiefs be desperate in this game, and I'm looking at Kevin Patullo thinking, you have A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, and Saquon, and all these guys. I know Dallas Goedert's out. Why aren't you using them? And it felt exactly like it did a couple years ago. This game felt exactly like it did a few years ago when the Eagles went to Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. I think that game was 21-17. This was 20-17. Look, if one part of the game's not working, I get it. But you have to try to use these weapons, and you have to get creative. I saw no pre-snap motion. It feels like literally deja vu from a couple years ago when we were screaming at Brian Johnson to get creative, to move these guys around, to get them in open space, more yak-type plays. They're not doing any of that right now. I thought Kevin Patullo last week was great on the first 3 drives, then he went away from all of it. And now the Philadelphia Eagles, once again, feel very stale on the offensive side. And I'm not mad at any of the players. Again, I thought Jalen made great decisions. I thought when used, A.J. Brown, especially early in this game when they tried to overcorrect from last week, got him the ball. What do you have? 5 catches, 27 yards. DeVonta Smith, 4 catches, 53 yards, had that big 28-yard catch, like I said, because the Eagles actually tried a shot play. I thought Saquon Barkley played great in this game. 88 yards on 22 carries, 4 yards a carry, but he was very methodical. You could tell he was getting a bit antsy, but he never got out of element. He just stuck to the game plan, continued to earn every single yard, and put the Eagles in position. And I know people are going to get on Jalen because he only had 100 yards, but I don't care. This was not on Jalen. This was more on the offensive coordinator. There was a play where Jalen was running around for 10 seconds and nobody was open. That's not on the players. That's on the coaching. I mean, in matter of fact, we were laughing at Nick Sirianni, who threw a challenge flag, came running down the sideline on the tush push where they had originally called it short, but it was a touchdown. And Nick Sirianni dialed up and threw this flag so far, they said that was the deepest throw of the day by the offense to that point. I mean, the jokes write themselves, man. But at the end of the day, you have to tip your hat to Vic Fangio and this defense. As tired as they were, they just continued to make play after play after play. Coop had a big tackle in the open field to make a stop. Andrew Mukuba had a big stop on a third down, big tackle. Yes, Quinyon got beat deep at the end of the game. There was another play where Thornton was open before the touchdown. Mahomes just missed him. He was wide open. So there were a few miscommunications, but again, they really kept the Eagles in this game. They really just, kept them in this game late when it felt like things were going to fall apart. And the Eagles, like last year, continue to find ways to make a big play when they have to on the defensive side of the ball. The front four were great. They were getting to Mahomes. They had a couple sacks in this game. Probably could have been more. I thought special teams were great. Jake Elliott, Braden Mann with some big-time punts, and there's still a lot to clean up in this game. But the Philadelphia Eagles, in my opinion, have set the new standard. Like, teams want to play the Eagles. They want to go and beat the Eagles. It's no longer Kansas City. The Eagles just made a statement in this game because the old Eagles years ago would lose this game. Even as messy as it might have looked on the offensive end, this team is mature enough and they have advanced far enough within this current core where they still find ways to win games. And that shows the sign of a good team. They're going to work on this stuff. They are going to clean it up. But the fact that they were still able to win this football game speaks a lot of volumes for me. So that's where I'm at in this game. Eagles get it done 20-17. What's your biggest takeaway? How do you feel about this squad after 2 weeks? Let me know your thoughts down below. As always, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.